Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ben Wheeler, local real estate agent in Northwest Wisconsin. And today we are chatting with Joshua Smith. He is an awesome team leader agent with the Wolfpack and EXP Realty in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And he has moved over 7,000 properties. Incredible, just incredible. So Joshua, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you started out, and kind of we'll go in from there?
Yeah. So, I jumped in the industry in 2005. And I never thought that this would be like a full-time gig for me. I mean, not full-time, but a long-term gig. I grew up in the health and fitness business, health and fitness industry. My dad owned gyms for like 30 years. And, when I was 23, I was working in sales, for a local gym. And, I knew and realized, okay, for me to create the future I wanted to create for my future family, like I had to get into ownership. Where it's going to be like 800 grand, to open up my own facility. And okay, 23-year-old, you college dropout, $1,000 to your name. Nobody's going to give me 800 grand. So I was just looking at, what could I jump into? Yeah, I'm a hard worker. I love people. I love sales. What can I jump into and raise the capital? In 2005, for anybody that wasn't in the market during that time, that was very similar to like 2021. I mean, to that point, it was the biggest real estate boom that we'd really seen in recorded history in the United States. So, things were just exploding in the perception, to the general public as, oh, realtors are making money hand over fist. It's a great industry. And so I chose to jump in, did my, 6 weeks worth of courses, got done, got licensed. And it's been an awesome journey ever since. I always say that health and fitness, quickly became my passion, where real estate quickly became my obsession. So that's why 21 years later, I'm still, still here,
Cool.
in this industry, but loving every second of it.
Very cool. How do you think health and fitness, how did that like go into real estate, like how in just life in general? I guess now that you said that, I'm kind of interested.
A lot of similarities, right? Okay, and twofold with similarities, right? So the first thing is, being in the health and fitness industry, running sales teams, doing sales, I was really blessed to start working for my father at the age of 14, have great mentorship when it comes to the actual sales and business aspect of it, which became paramount for my real estate business. Different product, different vehicle, but sales is sales, human connections, human connection, human behavior is human behavior. From being obsessed with health and fitness myself and understanding the discipline that takes, the self-accountability that you have to have, to order to have, personal health success with their own health journeys, again, I compare it so much to like what we have to go through as real estate agents, where it's like, okay, you're showing up, doing the work every single day. It's hard. It's painful. You're not seeing any results, and you're doing this for 3-4 months. Well, then boom. Okay. Now you start seeing some results. Same thing in health and fitness. Something that people don't know is grew up in the health club business, but my early 20s, I lost my health and allowed myself to get morbidly obese, almost 300 pounds. And, decided to, overcome obesity, lost over 100 pounds. I've kept it off for almost 2 decades now and been really successful with that, but same thing there, man. It's just, it's like results aren't overnight. Yeah, you gotta make sure that you have the right plan, but you're putting yourself through that pain, doing those consistent actions. It's painful. You're not seeing results. You're looking in the mirror. You're like, man, I'm showing up. I'm going through all this pain every single day. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. But then again, 3 months, 4 months, now you look in the mirror. Okay, now I'm starting to see some results. And now you start to get excited. Same thing in real estate. It's like the fruits of our labors, at least as a real estate agent side of things, like, okay, what you're closing and putting, together today is fruits of your labors from 3-4 months.
Right.
That's why I always love real estate. It's like, I can always predict exactly where my business is going to be the next 3-4 months based on our KPIs that we are seeing right now today.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I suppose that helps your, mindset and everything, knowing that it's not going to be instant gratification, because you don't get instant gratification with exercise and your health journey. Similar concept with real estate. I never really made that connection. So I think that's really interesting. That's cool.
Yeah. And that's important, I think, for everybody to know. I'm glad that you brought that up is, look, we've been conditioned as society with click a button on Amazon. It's on my doorstep same day. My market now, we have freaking drones delivering this crap to you. So you get it within hours, not even days now. And, so everybody's so used to just instant. And, it's dangerous, right? There is no such thing as instant gratification when it comes, like, there's no such thing as 6-minute abs. There's no such thing as overnight success in real estate.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And it kind of goes to where, a lot of agents always look at agents that are producing big time and they're like, I want to do that. Well, they don't know the story and how it really began, comparing their now with their now. It just doesn't always work out. tell me about like when you like first started in real estate. Back was 2005. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So what was the market like back then?
So it was insane. It was again, it was like the kind of post-COVID catapult that we all experienced, where you'd have 20, sometimes 100 offers in every house. Like new build developments, they were doing auctions. So you literally had people camping out in tents at the new build site as they were auctioning off lots. Yeah, you had sellers just praying that the buyer would back out, that we just got under contract because their home was worth 20 grand more. I mean, it was at least at that time. Now we experience it again in 2021, 2022. But at that point in time, it was something that nobody had really experienced at that level in real estate. Now, for me, I didn't know any different because I was brand new. I didn't know what a normal market was, right? So I just jumped in, and it was insane. It was crazy. But again, man, I'm a hard worker. I'm a grinder. I like the speed. I like the action. Right? So for me, it was a fun environment to jump into. My career's been pretty interesting, but at least those first few years, were extremely interesting because it was like, okay, market was just, the biggest boom that we ever saw. Well, then pretty much felt like overnight, it turned into the biggest real estate market crash that you've ever seen in recorded history for real estate, which was the Great Recession, 2008 through 2012. So it was a lot of learning how to pivot, learning how to adapt, because I want to make sure that my business grew every year, and it has for 21 years straight. I've never had a down year, but it takes the ability of reading markets, knowing when and how to pivot, when to adjust. And it was some really good, solid learning lessons really early on for me because it didn't allow me to get comfortable. It's like I was so used to pulling out that blank sheet of paper every day, coming in the office, and having to reinvent myself. So when the market turned, I didn't have bad habits, or I wasn't, set in my ways yet. I wasn't dogmatic about anything. It was just, okay, how do we need to pivot today? Right?
Yeah. And that's kind of, I mean, that's like the one constant in real estate, right? You're always correcting yourself or pivoting. The market's always changing. We're constantly kind of correcting ourselves and changing our course to where it's going now.
One of my first mentors that I had, he gave me some really good advice early on. He was like, hey, look, Josh, if you want your business to continue to grow and scale throughout your whole entire career, he's like, you get really good at acquiring and servicing traditional buyers and sellers. Then you get really good at acquiring and servicing investors. Then you get really good at acquiring and servicing distress. So like your REOs, pre-foreclosure, people in distress situations. And he's like, because regardless of what's going on with the economy, what's going on with the housing market, one of those is always going to be strong. But then from there, you have to have the ability to read the markets and know when to pivot. But if you do that, your business will continue to thrive. And that's where I see most get themselves in trouble in markets like we're experiencing right now, where they haven't adapted, they haven't made those pivots that they need to make, and puts them in a tough spot.
Right.